You're listening to the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe, a podcast of curated conversations with C-suite leaders and those who support organizational growth and development. Get ready for inspiring interviews, educational lessons, and thought-provoking discussions that will challenge you to execute something new and innovative that will drive results in your organization. And now, here's Dr. Tanya Lowe.
Hello, you're listening to episode 28 of the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe. Using my results-driven philosophy of strategy, leadership, teams, and customer experiences, I help organizations develop their best kept secret, their human capital. Our guest today is Susie Carder. Susie is an advisor to CEOs, author, national and international speaker who packs a punch with her spitfire personality. She coaches some of the top leaders in the country. Susie Carder is a transformational leader. As a self-made millionaire, Susie started with one salon and health spa and built it into one of the most successful businesses in the country. She later founded and sold 3 profitable businesses, and you may know the name of this company. The last company sold for 8 figures, and they go by the name of Cengage, I think, but they were previously known as Reuters and Thompson Learning. I know that name. Susie's 20-year track record helps companies, big and small, develop and implement strategic business plans that result in dramatic growth. Susie has guided hundreds of companies to develop personalized operation systems in finance, sales, and marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Susie Carder. Welcome to RDO.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and really just honored to play, right? This is my passion. If I can help one leader not do the mistakes I did, then I've done my job for the day.
Well, I'm excited to have you here as a guest on the podcast, as a friend and a coach. I'm excited to share some goodness with our audience today. One of the things that I've noticed about you, and I've watched you intently, was how you lead. You probably didn't know I was watching you, but I was watching you.
Never know who's watching you, right?
People are always watching.
Always.
But I was watching you intently around how you led, how you lead. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So my first question is, you started with one salon and health spa. You built it into one of the most successful businesses in the country. What would you say are maybe 3 of the things you learned about leadership during those early days that you still use today?
Yeah. So the system, I'm a systems girl, right? Because I'm a creative. As a business owner, you're creative, right? But if you don't have the systems, right, your creativity can bankrupt you. And so my system was called the ACT system: accountability, clarity, and training. And so as a leader, if there was a breakdown, because there will always be breakdown, right? Is the breakdown Dr. Tanya's or the breakdown mine? Before I went to my team member, I would say in the A, did I hold them accountable? If I answered yes, then that's on you. Was I clear with my expectation? And then if I said, yeah, I was really clear. And the last piece is training. Did I train her? And 9 times out of 10, that's the missing link. You might hold them accountable. You might have been clear, but the training, we just delivered, do this. And then we get upset when there's a breakdown. Well, the reality is, if I didn't do those 3 things, if I didn't do one of those 3 things, it's my bad, not your bad. And so that helped me develop people to look at, okay, I'm great at holding people accountable. I used to do it with a hammer. Now I don't do it with a hammer. That was old management, right?
I think we all did. I think we all did,
right? And now just coming from grace and compassion and understanding, but I still have to hold you accountable. Meaning if I deliver something, I've got to put it in my calendar to say, follow up with Dr. Tanya. And that's my accountability. Most leaders go, get that done, Dr. Tanya. And then if it gets done, it gets done. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then we're just frustrated, it didn't get done. Well, there has to be that accountability for you as the leader to them. Until you train them, they're building that muscle of, oh, let me put a by when in place. And the clarity goes back to that story. I don't know if you ever heard the story where the owner said, go get me a rock, right? So Tanya, go get me a rock. So you go outside and you get a rock, right? And you bring back this little pebble. And I'm like, oh, no, not that kind of rock. I want a bigger rock, a little jaggedy, go get that. So they come back with a bigger rock and, oh, no, not that. That's too jaggedy. I want it like this. And so every time we do that with a team member, their light dies because they're going out just trying to please us and go, I'm going to go get that rock. Now, go do that graphic design, go put that ad campaign together, go put that marketing campaign together, go put that training together. And then it's only after that team member does it that we're like, oh, not like that. Now that is so deflating. And I have been led by people that have been that way, right? So I've learned over the years to go, tell me exactly what you want.
Susie, as you tell this story, it's so interesting because as my business has evolved and grown and really kind of taken a place in this virtual world, as I started working with virtual staff, virtual team members, that was one thing that I had to like, okay, was I clear? Like, this is not what I wanted. Was I clear? Most of the time I was not. And so building that skill set of, let me be clear, whether they're sitting in the same room with me or across the country, make sure that I'm clear in my expectations. So I love that accountability, clarity, and training. And so that's something that you did in your early days and you're still doing now. So I know that you are no stranger to leadership. You have led companies as well as served in augmented roles in companies as a senior leader and an advisor. Where are leaders missing the mark today? And what are some things that you think they can do or should do to improve, especially in this pandemic landscape that we're in right now?
Pandemic landscape. Let's talk about that for a second, right? As a leader, people are multitasking. They're turning their cameras off, right? I learned this hack. It's not a good hack, but I'm going to tell you this hack where, like, if you're watching this or if you're listening to it, if you're watching it, we both have our screens on and people will take a picture of them with their screen on. So they're looking like they're engaged. And then they turn their camera off with that picture of them. And, when you've got 20, 30 people, you can't see the nuances of movement, right? You're just making sure everyone's camera's on. I'm like, oh, people have been so sneaky, right? I don't think that way, right? Either my camera's on or my camera's off.
Right. So
one is the people aren't listening. And people are multitasking. They're checking their email. They're managing their dog. They're managing their kids. They're managing whatever's happening and then trying to be present to the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
If it isn't written down, it isn't going to be delivered. So it's not enough. Conversations disappear. So we can have a great conversation. I'm a note taker, so I'm taking notes. What did I tell Tanya I would do? What did I ask her to do for me? What did she agree to? So that I'm active listening on what were the deliverables. Mm-hmm. So most of the time we give deliverables and it's all verbal. We're not following up with an email. We're not following up with accountability. So in every meeting that we have a note taker, and the note taker is taking notes in the meeting and then putting together the by when. So if Dr. Tanya has a by when to get Susie this, and then that goes out to every team member that's on the call. That has saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars in me trying to chase people to get the job done. Now, if they don't do it by the by when, then I'm having an accountability conversation. Is what about the by when, Dr. Tanya, did you not understand? Was there a breakdown on my side? Like what happened? Did something happen with you? 9 times out of 10, they'll say, oh, I got busy with this. Well, your job is to communicate, to renegotiate, and get another by when. Don't just blow me off. That's disrespectful. So I think as a leader, and especially in today's culture, we're nervous to hold people accountable because there's so much backlash.
Yes.
Right. You don't like me. You're mean. I remember when I took over Lisa's company, Lisa Nichols' company, right? Everyone thought mean because I was giving them by whens. And when they didn't give it to me, I'm having a conversation with them. I'm like, I'm not mean. You said you would do it by this date. I'm just following up, and you've not had that in this culture before.
Mhm.
Like her culture before was kumbaya, I love you, let's work together, get it done, which is great. I love that culture. But without accountability and some kind of structure, people run rampant, right? It's on their time schedule, not you as the leader, right? So one of the things, I just hired a new operations manager, and he's like, you guys work fast. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, you are at lightning speed. You're like on it. I'm like, are we too fast for you? Because if we're too fast for you, let's talk about that now.
We need to have a conversation now.
Yeah. But most people won't, like, innately, we know what we want to say. We don't know how to say it.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm an advocate of doing profiles. The one I've been using for the last 20 years is called the Harrison Assessment. Dr. Tanya, that is the DNA of managing someone. That will show me what you are on your best day, and under stress or duress on your worst day, what will show up. Mm-hmm. So for an example of that, my old partner, right, she was highly disorganized,
Mm-hmm.
right? And under stress or duress, she would get rigidly organized. So in normal meetings, she would say, I want this, and this. And then I would stay up all night getting this, and this. Then we get in the meeting, she's like, oh, I don't need that. Excuse me, I just spent 5 hours pulling all this information for you.
Right.
And then once we looked at the Harrison, I said, why don't we put a structure together of what you want every meeting? And then any additional stuff, you let me know 48 hours ahead of time, right? So this will be the standard. So everybody knows. Because what would happen is she'd get in a meeting and go, well, where's this? Well, you didn't ask that to be prepared. So then you feel like a loser.
Right.
Like, well, I didn't do my job, but I did do my job. But all the job I did, you don't want that now. You want this.
Right.
So it allows you to, see where your team needs developed. Look, when I'm under stress or duress, I get very dogmatic,
Mm-hmm.
right? I get very, what's the other one? Dominant and dogmatic. So AKA bitchy, right? And so
Yes.
I have to manage that and go, listen, Dr. Tanya, I don't want to have this conversation. It makes me really uncomfortable. So my energy isn't about you.
Mm-hmm.
So that allows the team member to go, oh, okay, it's not about me. She just doesn't want to have the uncomfortable conversation. So it's taught me as a leader to manage my energy and be responsible for how I leave you in the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
versus as leaders, who's really coaching the leader, right? Who's holding you accountable? Mm-hmm. I have 5 coaches. Now I might be cuckoo, but I got 3 financial coaches, right? I got the tax one, the business, and my CPA. Then I have a personal development coach, AKA therapist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want my life to work. I got to manage me.
Right.
I've got, a health coach, which is my functional doctor who helps me, that what we do as leaders, this is a machine. I've got to keep my machine at an optimal level.
Right.
I have a business coach, that's business strategy, having me think outside of my box. Right now, I'm not working with them all the time. My financials coaches, I'm working with them once a quarter. My business coach, we're working once a month. My health coach, once a quarter, right? And so looking at who do I need and when do I need to help me play at an optimal level? Because the reality, your team members aren't going to tell you what your blind spots are. Right?
Absolutely not.
They're too afraid, and their livelihood is connected to you and their paycheck.
And
so
they may be benefiting
the
from them.
Right.
They may be benefiting from my blind spots.
Right.
Susie, you just gave us like a whole meal right here, just with the second question. There were so many nuggets. And so like, I love psychometrics, and I'm going to go and check out the Harrison assessment as soon as. But what I heard you say was, I've got to manage my emotional intelligence, and how I respond to things may not be, as a leader, I have to be mindful of what's happening in the room, but I also have to be mindful of myself as well, and communicate that what I'm experiencing right now is not about you, and then we can revisit that later. I also heard you say the organizational culture. Change doesn't happen overnight. And so when a good change happens, people feel some kind of way about it. And so, and then I also heard you go back to the systems. And I love that you utilize systems. And I think that's something that if leaders demonstrate, they have to model that, right? So the leader has to have a system in place, and they model it to middle management or the execs beneath them. And then that should funnel down throughout the organization. So in theory, everything should run well, but someone's not going back to that by when. And did I hold you accountable? Was I clear? Do you need training?
Right.
So that was like a whole smorgasbord of some things, leaders, if you're listening, that I hope you're taking notes and using this conversation as a measuring stick, if you will, to assess where have I dropped the ball? No one likes to think about, did I drop the ball? But we drop the ball sometimes.
We do.
And where can I pick it up or train someone?
Yes.
Or delegate something.
Or
to
if we can fall on the sword quicker, faster, we train our team to fall on the sword quicker, faster.
Yes.
If I apologize for something, it doesn't mean that I'm wrong, they're right. It just means whatever occurred didn't work. Whether I missed a deadline, I mean, we're human beings. I'm going to miss a deadline. Things are going to fall through the cracks, right? Are you going to make people wrong for that, or go, what do I need to support you in that?
Right.
I think culturally, if we think of it as leaders, we have all heard the Pareto principle, 80-20. 80% of the results are produced by 20% of the people. Well, that's dysfunctional. So I'm paying 80% for a half-assed job. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No.
That's my money, honey. Don't mess with my money.
Right.
So if we can shift that, right? Because I in my first young years in business, I wanted everyone to be the superstar, right? And it's not physically impossible. They still did great work. They just weren't at the level that I was and my top performers were. And so I had to learn that, yes, you'll have some weak links, but I want to flip that. I want 20% to be the weak links. They're still doing stuff. They're at a lower level, lower pay scale. They're not at the higher pay scale that we are, and have 80% of the people producing those results. Right. So everybody's working. That's how you can start having exponential growth. Yes. I find in corporations, when I'm coaching corporations, there's a lot of fat. And a lot of laziness and a lot of mediocrity. And, and culturally, it's okay, right? I remember when the corporation bought my company, people were like ecstatic. They didn't have to work as hard. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have to work as hard? Right? Because the man, whoever the man is right. Paying the man. I'm still part of the man, right? I'm still a team member with you. And just the mindset of a corporate, it's bigger money. Right. Our CFO, who was an amazing CFO for 7 years, started embezzling money from the corporation because now it was a corporation. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, my goodness.
Right. Luckily, we're on our numbers. So we're like, wait, these are not, it took us about 2 months because we're like, what is happening? And then finally went, no, because he was such a good team member. No shenanigans. The whole worked for us. But the minute that corporate structure came in, it was like free money. Like, it's not stealing a stapler, right?
Right. So I want to switch gears a little bit. We've talked about leading and leadership and some things that leaders need to do. And I want to talk about teams for a minute. I know that you know how important teams are. I've seen you coordinate amazing events, and you can't do that without a strong team. So how important is it to you to have a strong team? And what are some things that you think leaders need to know about cultivating and maintaining strong teams? Because what I'm finding when I go into companies, the teams are struggling, and they were struggling before the pandemic, but they're really struggling now. So what are some things, why is it important to have a strong team, and what can leaders do to cultivate and maintain strong teams?
Well, remember in the, I think 80s and 90s, it was leave your personal stuff at the door.
Leave it at the door.
That? Like, we sucked that stuff. We sucked it up and we went in, and whether you were dealing with a death, or you were dealing with a divorce, you were dealing with something, you didn't talk about it. What I find is when you get to know people and you understand their values, What are their highest values? Now I'm going to go back to the Harrison, because the Harrison will give me their life themes. What are the values that they have to have in their life for their life to work? Mm-hmm. So as a manager, I'm looking at those, making sure, like, if work-life balance is important to them. So when they're saying, hey, I need to go to the doctors, no worry. Like, I know they're going to get their job done, right? Or if they need time to do whatever, it's like, awesome, go do that. Like my executive manager said, Susie, can I call in from the road on Friday for our meeting instead of being live because my mom needs me to take her to the doctor? I'm like, absolutely, of course. Mm-hmm. That one small gesture, like, who cares if she's on Zoom? She's an amazing worker, right? One meeting, okay, if every week she was doing that, we'd have a conversation.
Right.
And so the Harrison talks about their life themes. The second thing it teaches me is what are the, how do I retain that person? So literally, Dr. Tanya, I'm getting the DNA. So I know how to retain that person. They want high pay. Do they want more leadership? So for Sam, for example, she wants fast pay increases. So I'm putting carrots in front of her. So I've just given her a new assignment. She's going to be our affiliate manager. So to manage all our corporate relationships. And with that comes a percentage. So she's on fire, right? She keeps growing.
She's motivated.
Totally motivated, right? But that came from her. What are her highest? How do I retain her? What are those values that I need to retain her? Mm-hmm. And so she wants leadership. And the next one is she wants to follow a capable leader. Mm-hmm. So I learned early on managing people, you can't tell them you don't know what you're doing, right? As an entrepreneur, I'm coming to my meetings like, I don't know, you guys, I'm making this up. And they're like, what? You're making it up? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. I've never done it. Oh my God, the instability that caused for a couple months, just because I was just vulnerable and going, I don't know how to do this. I learned, I gotta call Dr. Tanya and go, girl, I don't know what I'm doing, because what's happening? Learning who are the trusted advisors you can have those real conversations with.
Yes.
Wants that capable leader.
Yes.
Right? So you got to find that tribe, that community that can be that sounding board when you want to fire them, when you want to burn the business down, when you want to, talk about a team member, like that safe haven, that community.
I call it who's your strategic thinking partner.
Yes.
As you were talking, millennials want work-life balance. So leaders, if millennials are millennials want work-life balance. Gen Xers are getting ready to replace the baby boomers. And so, these are some things, know what they want. Gen Zers, it's all about, are you competent? Because if you're not competent, I don't want to work here.
Right. And they want this, they
want it fast.
Autonomy, and they want this like raise and not produce a result. I'm like, you have got sprinkle fairy dust thinking, because that ain't gonna happen here. But we actually as employers have to show them the way, because Sam's in that generation. You can make as much money as you want, and I'm going to show you the way to do it, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Everyone coming into business, they want to make $100,000. Well, you have not earned the seat at the table to make $100,000 yet.
Right. What I tell some of the young folks that I mentor is, you don't know enough. You've not learned enough yet.
Well, one of my great sayings when really talking to team members is, if I have to tell you how to do your job, one of us isn't needed. Oh, girl, that gets them to go, oh. Yeah. So I'm hiring the best of the best in that price point. Mm-hmm. Right? Whether it's an admin, whether it's an operations manager, whether it's a marketing executive, whoever it is, if I have to tell you how to do your job, one of us isn't needed. So if I'm in Dr. Tanya, I wouldn't have to tell you what to do. You're a beast, and you'll go, here's what we need to do. Here's how we're going to implement it. These are the 5 steps. We need to meet with the team. We need to perfect.
Right.
That's my expectation with my team, is I'm going to hire you. And if you're an admin assistant, you need to tell me what you need from me to do your job. Right. I don't care that you're making $20 an hour, right? That's your job. That's what you say your expertise is. It's not mine, or I would do that job.
It's setting the expectations. I love that. Hire the best of the best for that love for that job. Is that what you said? Hire the best.
Yeah, for that budget.
For that budget.
Whatever that budget is, right? And it goes back to the hire slow, fire fast. Sometimes, and I've done this, I hired a body fast because I remember
Mhm.
I needed a marketing person fast, and I didn't do my due diligence. And I'm like, I need a body.
Mhm.
Oh my God, chaos. And that was my own bad, right? It was like, okay, I was trying to rush this process of finding that person before they were qualified.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. But
Yeah.
you got to learn. That's the way I learned. My grandma said, when I got married to my kid's dad, my grandma pulled my husband aside on my wedding day and said, I don't know why you're marrying her. She don't listen. So I'm a tough nut, right? I got to go through my learning process, and then I learn the lesson.
Well, Susie, isn't that how we learn, right? Isn't that how we learn some of these great nuggets of wisdom that we're talking about today? Because we didn't listen to what someone else said, or, I had to go put my hand on the hot stove. Oh, it really is hot. Okay, so I need to watch my tone. I need to I need to be compassionate.
Yeah.
Need to
Well,
learn.
it's that philosophy of, loving people through their breakdown. Like, you can have the breakdown, you just can't keep doing it over and over again.
Right.
And I think in the culture of management, we want people to get it right the first time. So they're scared. They're scared to implement. They're scared to raise their hand.
Mhm.
They're scared, like, it's not going to be received well. And that's management. That's leadership.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
my team is not bringing me the challenge and bringing me some solutions. That's how I've trained them.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm working with a company right now. I just acquired this other company, and every team member is waiting to be told what to do. I do not have time for that. Right.
No one has time for that.
They're scared, right? Because they're like, well, what if I make a mistake? Make a mistake. Just don't keep making it over and over again.
I notice that people, they don't want to make a mistake. So they're not asking questions. They're not getting the clarity. People are hiring and just, I assume you know what to do. And there's a lot of misfires. And so I hope that for people that are listening, create a culture where it's okay and it's safe to ask questions. I can remember my very first contract right after I finished my doctorate. And one of the people who worked for the company, she was really upset. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, I'm working on a project and I'm missing some things. I was like, well, just go ask. And she was like, no, we don't ask questions here. And I was like, what? What? She was so stressed out. And my thought would have been, well, let me go, you know what? I missed something. She was like, no, we don't ask questions here. Like, that was the culture, that you don't ask questions. You get it the first time, you don't ask questions. And what I saw while I was a consultant there, and several years after that company, Fortune 500 company, they had a lot of turnover. They had a lot of burnout. They were hiring the best of the best. They hired people right out of college, but these folks were crashing and burning because of I'm sure it wasn't written in the handbook, don't ask questions, but the culture, people do what they see, or they've been told certain things. And so it doesn't allow them to, right? And they watch, and it causes them not to thrive. And so
if you look at cultures, like one of my great examples is, remember the merry-go-round as a kid? Mm-hmm. And you would run and jump on the merry-go-round. It would go in a really fast circle. And so cultures in corporations, you are the merry-go-round, and a new person comes in and tries to jump on. Now, I don't remember if you try to jump on and you flew off.
Yes.
But we got up and tried to jump on again as little kids. Right now, it would be ow. And so culturally, you're spitting people out. And so culturally, we have to train people, slow down, let them get on the merry-go-round, and then speed up, right? Yeah. So having buddies and work buddies, and, because there is two cultures, what the owner says, what the leader says, this is how it is. And then it's the underlying, but let me tell you what it really is.
This is how we do it.
Yeah. And if you don't manage that, that's when you get the cancer in the company, the poison apple, the bad fruit, whatever you want to call it. Those are the people that are running the culture of the company. If you don't get that out, oh my gosh, get those people out and your productivity will go through the roof.
hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah, get them out.
Get them out. Get them out.
Get the poison out.
People don't want to get the poison out though. You know, with the Great Resignation, I know you've heard of it, 4.5 and growing numbers of people left their jobs last fall. I think it was 2 million women were expected not to return to work in 2022. And, you know, people, they're tired of the craziness in the workplace. People, one of the things I said was that the pandemic showed who the real leaders were.
Yeah.
The pandemic in all of its challenges shined a light on so many things that were already there, that were already present. And so when I hear hire slow, fire fast, there are people that you're losing your best people because you're retaining the people that you should be getting out of that company, getting out of there. Your good people are leaving.
That behavior. Why are we rewarding that behavior? Right? Because we're lazy and we don't want to have a hard conversation. Suck it up. You're the leader.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with conflict. Or they'll bring someone in to deal with the conflict. And again, it just creates a dysfunctional organization, a dysfunctional culture. And it's always going to be that revolving door. Have you seen that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's harder to restructure your culture than shutting it down, starting it over, right? That analysts have said it, authors have said it for years to go, know that it's a big lift. It took me about 2 years to restructure Lisa Nichols' organization from kumbaya, everybody just kind of ran wild
to real business.
Accountability, a business. This is your role. This is your job description. This is the expectation. They were like, kill the messenger, right? They would go to Lisa and go, you got to fire her. You got to fire
your head off.
If she didn't know me like she knew me, because I'd been her coach for years, right? They would have kicked me out.
Right.
But she knew innately, like it wasn't working. She didn't know why, but it wasn't working to go, I'm a ride or die with you. I'm going to stand with you. I got your back. People were trying to kill the messenger.
So, you know, you just said something there that, you know, it takes a leader to know when to lean on someone else, when to bring in a consultant and listen to that consultant. You know what? Some things are happening here. I don't really know. It's not working. And I need your support. I need your help. It's interesting when, you know, sometimes I've gone into companies and they bring the consultant in, but it's business as usual. They don't want to make the changes. And then the company,
they're not looking at long-term systemic change. I'm going to bring in Dr. Tanya for a shot in the arm. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time and their money.
Yeah.
Right. That's not going to do anything.
Yeah. So if you're a leader listening to this, you know, where are the flaws? You know, where are the flaws? Where are the holes? What needs repairing, not patching? We're going to put a Band-Aid over it. You know, what departments are struggling that could use, they could use some support. They could use some training. They could use a system, right? Because systems are great, and systems help keep organizations, businesses, departments, and teams on task. And you taught me that.
Well, if you have a system, you can manage the system, not their behavior. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I'm a very emotional leader, right? I'm very passionate, right? Both sides, both ways. And so if there's a system in place, I can say, what about the system don't you understand? And how can I help you? Versus Dr. Tanya, you did it wrong. You're not doing this. Nobody wants to hear that. Right. But it's like, you understand the system, right? Right. Where is the breakdown in the system? I can see where the breakdown is in the system because of the results that they're doing or not doing. Right. And my clients are like, how do you know that? Because I know if they do this, they will get this. So it's clear they're not doing that. And that's okay. Like, what do we need to do to train them? Right. And that's the, you know, to be that dialed into your culture. And so then you're never managing somebody's moods or emotions or good days or bad days. It's just like, how can I support you? What do we need to do to get it done? Manage the system, not
the behavior. Manage the system, not the behavior. So Susie, what are some lessons that your team has taught you? What are some things that you're like, you know what? I learned that from my team.
I think one of the biggest ones is grace.
Mm.
And the grace and when people make a mistake, right? The grace when people are ill or their family members ill, it's just a day, right? I know we all have deadlines and projects, but if someone is dealing with a child that's sick or, especially now with the pandemic and somebody's fighting for their life or just afraid they might fight for their life, like have the grace to say, you take care of you and let me figure out who else on the team can support.
Right.
And I think that helps with retention. That helps with loyalty, is to go, I got Dr. Tanya's back. If she's ill, now, if you're ill all the time, then that's a different challenge, right? Then I would say, what do we get your health in order? Because you've missed X amount of days. Like I'll use Sam again. She gets migraines every time of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, we need to get you to a doctor and talk about you're having hormonal migraines that's taking you out of work for 2 days a month. Right? That's 24 days a year. But we need to manage that. And she's like, I never really put it together. I'm like, I put it together every month. And I'm not mad because I understand a migraine, it just shuts you down. So I can't make her work through that. But there's a systemic reason why it's occurring. So let's figure that out. Right? Versus going, she's sick all the time and she's not here. But when she is there, amazing. And so, there's something in your health that's not working. Mm-hmm. And I think as leaders and the more seasoned leader you are, we just know that stuff because we've been around. I'm seasoned, girl. This is not my first rodeo. So.
Susie, who are 3 people that you can think of who've helped you grow as a leader on your career path and you still use their lessons today?
So one is my very first coach. His name was Doug Carter, Carter. And he was a top 1% in Dale Carnegie. And girl, I don't know how it happened, but somehow he took me under his wing and he coached me and mentored me. I never paid him a dime. He was just like, I see the light in you. I see you're meant for big things. And to this day, I still use the technology that he taught me. Amazing, amazing, amazing. The next thing is an organization, a training and development company called Landmark Education. Yes. It really taught me to get out of my emotion and focus on the facts, not my emotion about the fact, right? To really, from an oncology standpoint, break down what I was making things mean about you because you didn't show up. Or I could use Sam, for example. She keeps being sick. Maybe she doesn't like a job. No, she just gets migraines around a period, right? So look at the facts versus how I feel about it. And so I participated in that education for years, right? Went through all their training. It really taught me how to be a leader in any community, any group, any age group. How do you move people from laughing to crying, in a short period of time? Mm-hmm. And they have a leadership program that my eye twitched for 6 months. It was so intense, girl. I was like, oh my God. And then the third one is one of my business coaches, Pamela Stambaugh. She's the one who introduced me to the Harrison. And Pamela is, just a straight shooter. Like we resonate, like there's no fluff. It's like we get to meetings, get it done. And the Harrison assessment is a game changer for my leadership because I no longer manage based on my feeling. Or I used to hire people because I like you. Oh, I like you and you interview well and your resume is good. Well, everybody's resume is good and everybody interviews well that has any kind of intellect. So it allowed me to look at the reality versus I like you. And I have to like you got to fit in our culture. That's important.
Right.
But can you do the job? Right. Hiring the wrong person costs us more money than really investing in a tool to help you look at, I might like her, but she's not going to do the job. Or I might like her, but she's going to cause chaos. I might like her, but she's going to rip people's head off. I might like her, but they're not organized. Right. I can't have someone working on my team that can't follow a system and isn't organized. That would not work for me. Right. They'll poke a needle in my eyes.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm going to get this Harrison. I'm going to find out about this Harrison today.
I'll introduce you to Pamela because Pamela's a distributor, however, It's like the DISC Myers-Briggs, but on steroids. Like gives you so much more intel of the person and how do I manage that person? Because that was the hardest for me is how do I manage Sam, right? Because you can't manage everybody the same way. I got to manage Sam, especially this new generation. I got to manage Sam the way Sam wants to be managed. I got to manage Josie the way Josie needs to be managed. I need to manage Herbert how Herbert wants to be managed, right? And if you don't have the tool, you're just Sybil, right? Schizophrenic. You won't know who's coming or going. But literally, like when we get in a meeting, I'll pull up their Harrison and go, resistance is going to come in. So I'll say, look, you're not going to like this conversation. You're going to resist and defend. I just want to say that before we start. It says right here on your sheet that you filled out. So it diffuses so much because that's the worst when you're trying to do a corrective conversation. They're like, yeah, but. I'm like, okay, you know what?
So it's like your crystal ball.
It is the crystal ball. I'm kidding you.
It's like the crystal ball. Wow. So Susie, we've talked about a lot today, and I hope that any of the leaders who follow this podcast have gleaned some amazing nuggets because there have been so many. So the last question I would like to ask you is, what are you reading that we should be reading?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So there's a new book out called The Inevitable by Kevin Kelley. And so it's about how virtual reality is going to change the training landscape for businesses. And so what you're doing today will be obsolete in 5 years. And so we as leaders have to stay on the cutting edge of what is this new generation. If you look at 9 and 10-year-olds, they already have avatars.
Yeah,
they're already I don't have an avatar, but my 9-year-old granddaughter has an avatar. Right. And so it's their upbringing, whether they're doing a learning avatar, so we've got to look at, if I want to affect the next generation, I've really got to look at virtual reality in the corporate environment, in a training, because literally the future looks like I could be in 2 meetings. My avatar could be in another meeting and I could be in this meeting with you. Right. Because it's recording it, downloading. And so it's so fascinating. It's to be in the cutting edge of what's going to happen in our industry, and our industry being leaders, corporate training, accountability. What does that look like in 5 years? Right. It's not like, oh, this is going to happen in 20 years. If you look at how the internet changed the game quickly, right? From we'd have to use encyclopedias to now we can just GTS that stuff. Google that shit. Right. Who looks at an encyclopedia? But remember, every household had them. And so in 1998, when the technology became mainstream, it changed the landscape overnight. And so the same way with virtual reality technology, how are we going to use it in classrooms? How are we going to use it in our trainings? How are we going to use it to hold our teams accountable, in a whole new way? So,
and leaders can't be afraid of what's to come because it's coming. I just did a training and share it within the World Economic Forum's report on the top skills for 2020, the top skills for 2025. And, they looked at that list and was like, where's the people factor? Where's the this? Where's the that? It's so technology heavy. And I'm like, you're still going to need people. So everything that you've learned, you're still going to need that, but you're going to need these skills too. You're going to need to understand critical thinking on steroids. You're going to need to understand technology a little bit more than you do now. And if this scares you, this is innovation. This is where we're going in 3 years. So yeah.
Well, like you said, with the pandemic, how many people left their jobs? 60% of small businesses closed their job. Now, small business is 40 million and below.
Yes.
So small isn't small, right? 60% of those businesses shut their door because they couldn't pivot. Right. And that's what I've seen with my clients. They could not pivot fast enough. And so profits are down, sales are down, numbers are down, right? And they're scrambling. And the good thing, like you said, is it's weeding out the weenies, the dead weight, the people that weren't producing, the people that were just getting a paycheck.
Get them out of there.
The same thing's going to happen with technology to go, I'd rather be in the front of it and start learning now while I have some time to learn.
Yeah.
Right. On your weekends and your evenings, whatever, just take it on as a project to go, it's so fascinating. I think about the phone, right? Where people would send letters and then the phone came. And then from the phone, then the fax came and then the email came. And, we all learned and adapted. And there's still people that don't understand it, but they've been left behind, right? Financially with, pay increases and salaries and, those 20-year track records are no long. People aren't going to stay 20 years.
No. If you can keep someone 3 to 5 years,
that's
great.
Right. That's like, wow, equivalent to 20 years back when our parents were working a job.
Yep. Nobody's staying 30 years anymore. No one's getting the gold watch. So guys, we've been chatting with Susie Carder, CEO, influencer, national and international speaker, and author. She is the author of Living Proof and Power Your Profits, How to Take Your Business from $10,000 to $10 million. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Visit our show notes to see how to connect with Susie. Grab a copy of Results Driven Organizations, the 4 Keys to a High Performance Workplace. And while you're in the show notes, visit Susie's website and grab her books, Living Proof and Power Your Profits, How to Take Your Business from 10,000 to 10 million. Until next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe. Be sure to review the show notes for the resources mentioned, and don't forget to grab your free gift available at freegiftfromtanya.com. Until next time.